Hello, I'm Bartosz Świniarski, and this is Asian Movie Pulse Interviews. Today I'm here with Alireza Khatami, director of the film The Things You Kill, which is the official Canadian entry for the foreign language Oscar. How are you, Alireza?
Hello, how are you, Panas?
I'm good, I'm good. So, first question to get a bit to the past before we touch the present. You have worked across many countries and languages. You have from Oblivion Verses, Terrestrial Verses, and now you have a Turkish language co-production. So, how is it working in international trajectories, let's say, co-productions all the time? How is this experience? How has it changed through the years?
Um, I am originally an indigenous member of Hamza tribe from southwest of Iran, and I went to um, exile for the past 20 years almost. So I had no choice but to move between cultures and move between languages. I was lucky enough to be able to put some resources together through co-production and make movies in different countries, in different languages. I've made movies in Spanish, as you mentioned, in Mandarin, in Malay, in English, in
Mhm,
Turkish, and now, you know, with this movie in Turkish language. Um, it has its own limitation, but it also have expanded my view of filmmaking. So instead of focusing on particularities of cultures, I have learned to focus on um, what we share as a human across languages and across cultures. You know, for me, the pain that you bring to the storytelling, the very core of the story, has to be something that anyone from any walk of life can connect to it. And I've learned that because I've moved between languages and cultures.
mhm, mhm. And do you think now that with the Things of Kill being Canada's official submission to the Oscar, do you think that it can spark some more discussion about cross-cultural cinema itself, let's say?
That is certainly my hope. The very fact that Canada has put forward The Things You Kill as representative for Oscar means that the stories don't have nationalities. The stories happen in a language, in a geography, but they don't have a passport. They are not limited by the requirements of the politics and the capital. You know,
Hmm.
uh, a story can connect to anyone who happens to watch them.
Hmm. Hmm.
So certainly, this is my hope that it has sparked a conversation.
Hmm. Okay, okay. And also, I was wondering how much of the Alice journey is draws from your own experience to a point, and do you navigate this connection, let's say, in the film?
Um, I have called this an autofiction
Mm.
script writing. You know, it's a story that was inspired by my own stories. And then I've experimented, of course, with the narration to fit it into the silver screen of cinema as a cohesive piece. And it's not exactly what happened, but certainly the pain is from my family history. You know, so the story of Ali and Reza, in a way, are very, very close to my heart. Uh, in one way, it made it very easy to write it, and then on the other hand, it was very difficult to write it because it
Mm-hmm.
was so close to home. You know, I remember some days when I was writing, I was crying so much I couldn't see the monitor.
Wow.
You know, so I had to stop. There was many days like that, but also it was a very you know, very relieving experience, to be honest. 100%. It's a radical honesty. Let me see if I can open my chest, you know,
Hmm.
and show these demons inside me.
Hmm.
Um, Certainly with this movie, I feel like I've finally found my way of telling stories.
Hmm. Hmm. And which of the two men do you think are more similar to you, or?
I think they're both very similar to me.
Mhm, mhm,
You know, And I think everybody has to constantly struggle with their own demons. There is no saint. We all have all these dark thoughts. There is no other way to navigate through this very, very complex world, you know. And often easy solutions present themselves and with a lot of pressure.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh, and in that sense, these two men are both are very close to me. Um, yeah.
Hmm. But do you think that people need to be like that, like having different aspects to their character, or even radically different sometimes?
I think they do. They are often not two, they have multiple. We are constantly performing,
Hmm.
and I mean, look at the way we talk to children. That's a very good example of it.
Mm.
Suddenly we are a completely different person. We have this cute voice. Uh, it's a completely different. And then you go to a classroom, you're different. You go to a office, you're different. You talk to a doctor, your posture changes. You're trying to create an empathy. We have multiple characters who live within us. Um, it's just the way we make decisions walking through these personalities.
Hmm. Hmm. And I also felt that the protagonist's relationship with his father is portrayed in the film is one of the central points, and I was wondering what you were hoping to explore with this. I mean, I find comments you have about inheritance, let's say guilt, masculinity, and was there some of the concepts that you wanted to explore with through this relationship?
The most important concept for me was this uh, crisis of masculinity. And for me, masculinity itself is always in crisis. And for it to be stabilized, a bit grounded, it needs to be having some overlap with the feminine side of it. And that's what happens. That's the entire arc of the film for me.
Hmm.
It's a man who is in crisis, and by acquiring a new view about the world, manages to kind of get himself grounded. And that view of the world is to be able to historicize,
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
see his father's history, his sister's history, you know, and to learn that, as the sister says in the story, it's very easy to sit afar and preach. It's
Hmm.
very difficult to come and live with it,
Hmm.
right? So it's a man who is learning to live with it. Violence is not the way. Violence can maybe postpone the question a little bit, but the question is coming back. So
Hmm. Hmm.
the
And
themes of guilt, masculinity, um, inherited traumas, yes, they're all there.
hmm. Hmm. Okay, and in terms of narrative, like I found like you combine, you have drama, tragedy, even let's say there is an absurdity level and a lot of dark humor, I felt. So I was wondering how did you manage to balance all those different elements and not allow the film to go one way, let's say, to become a melodrama, let's say, or an absurd
Yeah.
comedy.
Well, I think life is like that. Life is a combination of all of this. At the heart of darkness, suddenly you see humor in life, right?
Hmm.
And in the midst of happiness, you see dark tragedy. So to me, it's very close to life. I try to stay close to life, you know. So one moment you're sad, one moment you're happy. And also in terms of creating a pace, I wanted the audience to be able to breathe a little bit. So then I could take them to somewhere deeper. It's like when you're diving under the water, you have to once in a while come up, take some air, and then go back in again. So that helped me to take the audience to uncharted territories. For me, cinema is about pushing it all the way to the edge, through the
Hmm.
mise en scène, through the structure, and I'm bored watching movies that they don't do anything anymore. It's like cinema is finished. And in my opinion, cinema is not finished. Cinema still has a lot to offer by playing with the mise-en-scène, playing with the structure, playing with the narrative. Take audience somewhere they've never been. And for that, you need to be able to let them breathe and go, okay, now let's go to this place you've never been.
And in terms of editing, how did you approach what you just described? I read that you also co-edited the movie with Zelda
Yes.
Taskin. So how did that work, the editing, let's say, particularly in this aspect we just mentioned?
Zelda Taskin is a wonderful, grumpy editor, so she constantly questions every choice, So the way I shoot, I know the structure of the scene very well, and I don't have time to shoot a lot of coverage. I've worked on small budgets, so I had to know exactly how to edit. So what we discussed with Zelda wasn't really the inner rhythm of the scenes, was mostly how do we restructure these scenes together to find that the very balanced story that we were looking. And I love to edit standing. I love to, it's a dance for me. Sometimes I really listen and I press the pause button. If I press it a couple of times right at the same place, that's the right cut, that's the right rhythm for me. And it's a lot of intuition, I don't try to follow formula. Formulas are easy, are given to you. Of course, there is no risk with it. It's guaranteed. I try to go places that nobody has gone. So it requires some risk taking. And Zelda was very, very good at finding that right balance. How much risk do we take not to lose the audience? So we push them all the way to the edge before we're losing them. And then we say, okay, now too much. Let's wait here. Let's go. That was the balance. Did we lose them? No. Then let's push.
And part of this that you just mentioned is this whole concept with the change, let's say, of the protagonist, the actual change, which also becomes a bit more challenging for the audience because the audience is the only one who essentially understands this change. The people around the main characters are acting the same. So I was wondering, how did you approach this with the actors themselves?
They knew because it was written in the script from day one, so they knew this is going to happen. And what we discussed with them is that, okay, these are two different people, and we will act like they're different people, we'll shoot it like they're different people, and we go all the way. Don't try to imitate each other. Even the language of the camera for these two people were different. Ali, at the beginning, is always static camera or very controlled dolly. Reza, always on handheld. And after Ali gets over Reza finally, then the camera becomes a mix of both. Then the camera becomes balanced. Sometimes it's a static, if needs be, can go handheld, So even these two people had their own distinguished camera design work because we wanted audience to be absolutely surprised. And for me, that moment of change, in a way, is a Brechtian moment that it kind of throws you out of the film and you're like, what happened? What am I? And that moment creates a space that makes you think. It gives you a little bit of things. And it's halfway through. It's too late for you to walk away from the movie, right? If it happens 20 minutes, some people may walk away, but halfway through, and nobody had done it this way. Luis Buñuel did it because his actor died, I think. So they had to change it. And it wasn't this intentional. Here is so intentional. And we decided not to explain it to the audience and let them be totally surprised, But I had faith in the audience that today, in 2025, audience can handle it, And I think they did. And it's for those people who stayed all the way, it's a rewarding experience. It's something you don't see every day, It's not formula filmmaking. It's exciting to be surprised in this way.
And since we started talking about the actors, can you tell me a bit how the casting worked for the film, and in general, how was your cooperation with them?
Um, they are all stars and they are wonderful actors. Ekin Koç, Erkan Kustendelli, Hazar Erguçlu, Ercan Kesa, they're all wonderful actors. So the only question I asked these people were, have you ever thought of killing your father? And they all said yes, except one of them who said, not my father. Sometimes I thought about killing my mom. I said, you're in. That was the only question I honestly asked. And the rest of it was me trying to create a symphony between all four of them in terms of the type of acting. It's a very nuanced film, so we cannot have TV style. We could not have theater style. We could not have like acting style from the 90s or 2000. It had to be super, super nuanced in a way that they had to trust the audience. So I constantly gave them the space and the confidence to give as little as possible. So I'm very proud of their performances. I think they gave their heart to this film, and it's lovely performances. Watching them, it's absolutely gorgeous what they did.
But did you in general allow some improvisation, or it was very strict during shooting in particular, let's say?
There was always a space for improvisation. I think I love when the actors have a space, but there were certain lines and certain things that had to be there. So it was a combination. There was a structure in place because our movie relies on a structure very heavily. This is a movie of a structure, so we could not go far away from it. And some cameras are very, very precise. So there were not much space in terms of what they do. But even within that space, they had opportunity to improvise, both in terms of the dialogue they brought and the performance.
And regarding the erotic scenes, how did you approach them? Okay, they are very subtle, but I was wondering, did you sometimes thought of making them more graphic, for example?
No, I think a erotic scene between two human beings is such a private space. If there is an erotic moment that there is more than two people, three, four people, I think it's okay if there is a camera, because then it's a collective act. But when it's two people, it's their privacy. I put the camera as far as I could. Really, there was no more space to go back, and I saw it through the mirror or through the reflections because I wanted to have them have this moment for themselves. This is there is this love moments between them. The point wasn't really provoking eroticism. It was to show how vulnerable we are in the moment of connection. That's how we approached it.
And tell me a bit more about the cinematography in general. The difference between the scenes in the city and the scene in the country they are very different the way you shot them, right?
Yeah. In cinema, usually when we want a person to have self-reflection, we take them to a dark place, a confined place. They go to the basement, they go, this is how we portray it because we want to show the inner thoughts. We decided to take this the other way around, as you can see in the background. We thought we put it in the vast landscapes of Central Anatolia, where we see characters, as you can see here, very small. They are lost with their own thoughts more than in the city. So in the city, the camera is always through frames, through confined spaces, but we contrasted that with the vast landscapes, which things are under the sharp sun, right, with nowhere to hide.
Okay. And tell me a bit, since you have been in a number of co-productions now, how is this whole concept of co-production? Is it comfortable for you? Because sometimes, the more people get involved, the harder it gets for the director to do what he wants, let's say.
Certainly, co-production has its own challenges, no doubt. But at the same time, it has beautiful things that brings to the film. First of all, when you're working with 4 or 5 countries, that means your story has to be resonating with people from different walks of life. So it constantly gets polished. Also, when you have on the set, on my first feature film, I had 8 languages spoken on the set. In this one, we had, I think, 6 languages spoken on the set, right? So many cinematic traditions contribute to that. On The Things You Kill, we have a Polish cinematographer who brings with him, Bartosz, the shadows of Polish cinema, the embracement of the darkness, the controlled vision of Polish cinema. The sound design is French. The nuances of every little leaves. We don't have a score in the film because the score, it's symphony of the world's sounds. The production designer, Meral, is from Turkey. With it comes storytelling and nuanced cultures of Turkey. The writer, director, and editor comes from Iran and Canada. So the story of The Things You Kill is told between all these creative forces. Then there is a film which will not expire, in my opinion, in a year. This is a movie you can watch it in 20 years and it still will be relevant. And it still will be standing on its feet. And that's one of the beauties of co-production. It is challenging, certainly. It is very difficult. But at the same time, I have embraced this wholeheartedly and I've seen the beauties of it.
And the last question, I guess, any future projects? What are you working on next?
Right now, I'm working on my first English language film in Canada. It's called Yesterday Will Come. And it's another journey of trying to take audience to new places and push cinema to see where can I take cinema, to its edge. What rules can we break this time?
Okay. So you will shoot in Canada this time or somewhere else?
Hopefully we will be shooting. Hopefully it will be Canada. Yes.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you very much for your